not only trained to make their own lives better, but are trained to use their legal degree in service of others. And so that brings me now to our LLM program. So Howard, we have an LLM program, which is a general LLM degree. What that means is anyone who graduates with a general LLM degree. However, what we do is we work with each LLM student to curate a curriculum that is specifically tied to their subject matter interest. So many of the people that come to our law school, particularly our foreign law degree holders that come to us, many are interested in international law. And so we have had graduates who graduate with their LLM degree with an emphasis in private international law, with an emphasis in public international law. I've had folks come to me who focused on human rights law. We also have had graduates who have come to us with an interest in a very specific area of law. I have had LLM students who focused on intellectual property law. I've had LLM students who have focused on trial advocacy. So whatever it is that you would like to focus on in your LLM studies, we curate a curriculum of courses that is tied directly to your interests. And so when you graduate with your general LLM degree, you are able to say you've graduated with an emphasis in a particular area. One of the things that's important for really all students that come to Howard to know, both our JD students and our LLM students, is that at Howard, in the classroom, there is an emphasis on social justice, right? So you're learning about the law, right? But you're also learning about the way in which the law can be used, right, to advocate for social justice, and the ways in which the law historically may have been used contrary to issues of social justice. And we interrogate that, right? We spend time, our students spend time with the professors really assessing that history, looking at the present day legacies of that history, and really critically thinking about the ways in which folks are able to use their particular area of practice to expand opportunity for others. So that's a little bit about Howard. I've been at Howard for 8 years. I am a professor of law here. I plan to be here for my entire career. It's really an honor and pleasure for me to work with Howard students and to really have the opportunity to educate and mentor. That's something that all of our faculty take very seriously. We educate our students, but we also mentor them and support them in achieving their dreams. Now, I'd like to pivot finally to some details about the process for applying to Howard Law School. So if you will indulge me, what I'm going to do is I am going to include in the chat for this Zoom a link to our Howard Law LLM page, which will have the information that I am about to share with you. So give me one moment while I make that transition. Okay, so in the chat, I am now adding a link to the Howard Law LLM program page. It will contain all of the information that I am now sharing with you verbally, right? So first thing that I'd like to emphasize, for those of you that are interested in pursuing an LLM degree beginning in the next academic year, right? The cycle for our receipt of LLM applications closes on June 1st. So that's coming up in just a few weeks. And in fact, I would encourage anyone who is interested in our program to reach out to me directly. I will also put my in for the program, and I would encourage you to the best of your ability to try to get your application in by May 15th at the latest. This is why. For those LLM students who are coming from overseas, in addition to not only being accepted into our LLM program, there are also visa requirements. And we have found that for students that are coming to us from abroad, it is best to ensure as much time as possible for the visa approval process, because for us, our new semester starts in mid-August. That's August 15th. And so that will only be 3 months from May 15th. So if you're interested in Howard and you want to apply, reach out to me directly, let me know, and do everything to the best of your ability to get your application in before May 15th. Now, here's what an application entails, and here are what the requirements are for a foreign law degree holder. So for our LLM program, right, an LLM candidate must have a degree in law from an accredited law faculty of a foreign law school, or an ACLAWS graduate program committee. Along with that degree from an accredited law faculty of a law school, we look for a demonstrated high degree of academic excellence and promise. Now, the physical application that one submits must contain several things. We have a non-refundable application fee, $60. If that application fee would cause difficulty for an applicant, you can reach out to me directly and I can speak with our admissions office about seeking a waiver. We also need a completed application form for the LLM program. You can find that application form again at the link that I included in the chat. The application also includes a 2 to 3 page typed autobiographical statement describing your professional goals and the role that an LLM degree would play in helping you to fulfill those goals. We will also need official transcripts from the university that you have attended for your undergraduate. We will also need an essay in English describing your intended thesis topic. One of the things that I did not mention earlier is that every LLM student completes a thesis, a legal thesis, during their time with us under the mentorship of a faculty member. So either me as the LLM program director or another faculty member who has expertise in your area of concentration. You will complete that thesis under their advisement. And so as part of your application, we would like for you to describe your intended thesis topic. And then finally, the application includes 2 letters of recommendation that support your character and academic potential in our program. And at least one of those letters must come from a member of your law school faculty. And recommendations must also be from persons who are not related to the candidate. And finally, LLM candidates must provide, some materials related to the visa process, including passports, size photograph, and some other materials which you see in the link regarding the application. Now, you will also see in the link that there is information at the end of our page regarding financing options. One of the, I think, important issues that many LLM students quite rightly are focused on is the financing of their LLM degree. Unless you have dual citizenship, right, or unless you are a US citizen, US federal government financial aid will not necessarily be available to you. However, there are other financing options outside of that US government federal aid that one can pursue, and some of those suggestions are included on the link related to financing options. So I will end my remarks here, but I will be very happy to take questions from all of you. And again, it's a pleasure to be here and to have the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you very much, Professor Darwin. I think you've given us quite an insightful presentation on Howard Law School. And I believe a lot of us will be interested in applying for your LLM programs. So for now, I would allow questions and answers. So if you have any question, kindly raise your hand. Use the reaction button to raise your hand, and I'll call you out to ask your question so that Prof can answer for us. So please, if you have any question, kindly raise your hand. If I call you, you unmute and then you ask your question. Thank you. So I can see Justice hand up. Justice, please, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Professor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
everybody. Yeah. Just as the moderator said, I am Justice Ruben, and having listened to you, I would like to know the study options. Is it off campus or on campus or online? This is basically my question that I want to put across.
Thank you, Justice. That is an excellent question. Regarding our law program, right now, all of our courses are in person. We do not have an online LLM program. There was a small period for the 2020-21 academic year where we did have an online program, but that was because all of our classes were online due to the COVID epidemic. So during that 1 year, we were able to have classes with our LLM students as with all of our students online. However, in the fall of 2021, we came back fully on campus, and we have been back on campus for 2 years. And so our online offerings ended at that time, and we are a fully in-person campus.
Thank you very much, Prof. I think just this question has been answered. So we'll move on to Manasseh. Manasseh also has a question.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. So my question has to do with, I see you mentioned funding in your presentation. I want to know what is the system like when it comes to scholarships, and especially I'm talking about, I know that universities would have different packages for maybe students coming from Commonwealth countries or African countries, and how would I be able to land a scholarship if I want one from Howard?
Yes, that is an excellent question, Vanessa, and that is often, I think the most important question for many students considering an LLM degree. Unfortunately, we do not at Howard have separate scholarships specifically for students from Commonwealth countries. As I mentioned, if a student does happen to have dual citizenship or some other status in the United States, that does make that student eligible for federal financial aid, U.S. federal financial aid. And so if you fit into that category, that is something that is available to you. However, if you're not in that category, what tends to happen is that our LLM students either self-finance or finance through outside scholarships. And so if that is something that someone is considering, I would be happy to refer you to a series of outside scholarship opportunities that are specific for LLM students that one could apply for. But unfortunately, we do not have any specific funding for students from Commonwealth countries.
Thank you very much, Prof. So I would also like to ask a question, but before I go to my question, if you have a question, you can also drop it in the chat box so that we can ask for you. So Prof, I'd like to ask that if you already have a degree in law, but then probably you didn't get a first class or a second class, but you have a third class or a past degree, can you still apply?
And that is an excellent question. And so I do need to acknowledge that in the United States, our system of legal education is a bit different than many other countries. For us, an individual cannot practice law until they have received a graduate degree, right? So American lawyers, we all receive an undergraduate degree in whatever area of study we choose, and then we receive our 3-year graduate degree, a Juris Doctor in law school. So that leads to some distinctions, right, in what it means to become a lawyer when one studies in the US versus in a country where one can have an LLB or an undergraduate degree in law. And so I give all of that background to then lead to my question back to you. So when you made a distinction between first class and second class, please help me to understand a bit more what you mean by that distinction. Our requirement is that someone simply have a degree that allows them to practice law from an accredited institution. So we don't draw any further distinction, but I would be curious to understand what that distinction is so that I could further respond to your question.
Okay, so during our degree programs, we have the grade point average. So we are separated due to that. So let's say people who have from 3.6 GPA to 4.0 GPA are under the first class. And then we have from 2.5 to 3.5 under second class. And then we have second class, lower, third class. It drops in that manner. So
I understand.
We all have the degree. However, we are put into various classes. And for some universities, they would say that they pick only people who have maybe a second class lower to a first class. They don't take people below that. So that is what I'm asking about.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that explanation. As with most selective institutions, obviously, students with higher GPAs are more likely to receive admission. However, as director of our LLM program and someone who is involved with making admissions decisions for every LLM student, I can assure you that we do not have a specific grade cutoff, right? So while I cannot guarantee that everyone that applies will be accepted into our program, I can tell you that we do not, for example, based on the distinction that you have drawn, prohibit applications from anyone. And what we're looking for is, yes, we're looking for excellence in academic performance, but we're also looking for excellent academic promise, right? And so if someone is able to indicate that in their application through ways of supplementing, right, through their letters of reference or through their essay, how they have utilized their degree in practice, or what it is they wish to do with their degree, that additional information can often accentuate an application from someone who may not have had the grades that they hoped to have achieved in their undergraduate education.
Thank you very much, Prof. Okay, so now I'll move on to the chat box. We have a question there from Ernest Van. He's asking about wanting to pursue a Bachelor of Laws JD, Juris Doctor at Howard University, the process for that. So if you can kindly take us through that.
Yes, so fortunately, in the link that I sent to you, although the link specifically focuses on the LLM degree, I think you can also, through that link, get to the portion of our page which refers to the JD degree, the Juris Doctorate degree. Now, I think it's an excellent question. One of the things that I think it's important to realize is while the LLM degree is a 1-year degree, the Juris Doctor degree is a 3-year degree. So typically, what we tell individuals is that if you are looking to take the US bar and to be a practicing lawyer in the United States, then you will need the full JD curriculum of 3 years. Now, of course, that entails 3 years of tuition and fees, right? Which is obviously much more expensive than 1 year. And so the reason that one might want to pursue a JD is if one wants to take the US bar and become licensed in the United States and practice law in the United States. So that would be the primary reason for applying for the JD program instead of the LLM program. And every year we do have international students who are part of our JD program. They tend not to be as many as apply to our LLM program. Now, a corollary question that I often get is, well, if I sit for the LLM degree, can I still sit for the US bar? And the short answer is, we don't necessarily encourage it, but there are a number of jurisdictions in the United States that have revised their rules in such a way to allow LLM degree holders to sit for the US bar. Now, what I would be cautious of warning someone about is that you have to look state by state to figure out if a specific state that you wish to practice law in would allow you to do that. And then you would have to make sure that your LLM program course design meets the requirements of that state, because specific states will require that LLM degree holders will have taken specific classes during their time in the LLM program. So while it's not something that we necessarily encourage, right, because the view is you need the full 3-year standard curriculum to be prepared for the bar, it is an option that some LLM candidates have taken in the past. If someone does decide to do that, I would also recommend other things that one should do, including various bar preparation programs. But historically, right, the LLM degree was not designed to prepare individuals to sit for the US bar. Rather, it was designed to allow individuals to attain a higher level of specialization in an area of interest, right? So someone that wants to better understand private international law, or let's say human rights law, or intellectual property law, will use the LLM degree to show that they have that specialization and that particular expertise and knowledge. And many of our LLM students, I've had LLM students from all over the world, from Africa, from Asia, from Europe, from Latin America, from the Caribbean, will take that LLM degree specialization back to the country in which they are already licensed to practice law, and will use that specialization to enter, right, a different track of their career with, the credential that they have this particular knowledge and expertise. And by the way, I should mention that our LLM degree program, while it historically was specific to foreign law degree holders, we took a decision several years ago to also open up our LLM degree to US degree holders. So we also have students who have received a JD degree, right, in the United States, but decide they want to obtain an LLM, and specifically at Howard, to have, again, one, the credential of the LLM, and specialization, but also that Howard Law degree, which means a lot in the United States. That is something else that I wish to share. Now, I will jump directly to the second question that I see in the chat, and then my moderator can let me know if my time is up. But the question is, how hard is it to get into the job market after getting the LLM for citizens of dual citizenship holders? Also with this degree, what other career options are possible apart from practicing as a lawyer? So I touched on that a little bit in my last response, right? Many LLM degree holders come to us for the specialization as part of their career trajectory, but also for the Howard degree, right? Which is quite a prestigious degree in the United States and in many countries. So how hard is it to get into the job market? I think that would be a quite specific conversation relative to the individual. If you are a citizen of dual citizenship, meaning you already have, you are US, your dual citizenship is in the United States, I think part of the question would be, are you someone that already holds a legal degree from the United States? Do you have a JD? If not, and you're looking to use the LLM to sit for the US bar, then as I noted before, there are some very specific things that I think one would need to do to make sure that they're actually prepared for the bar. And so that would be a very specific conversation that I could have with that individual. But once one gets into the market, once you are barred, as with all of our graduates, you have the benefit of our Office of Career Services. And we just, we place students at all of the top prestigious law firms, all the top prestigious government positions, all the top prestigious public interest organizations. We are quite well placed, and legal employers love our students. They want Howard Law students because they know that they receive a rigorous education, and they know that our students make excellent lawyers.
Thank you very much, Prof. I think Professor Darren has taken us through a lot about Howard, and a lot of us will be interested in applying. So just as he said, if you are interested in applying, please do so before the deadline, that is June 1st. So if you are interested, he has left his email account in the chat box, and he has also left a link there to the LLM program, so you can find everything else there. We are also recording this program, so when we are done, you can listen to it and then you'd know how to reach out to him. So Professor, we are very grateful for your help. We are very grateful for the insight you've given us, and we hope that a lot of us will be with you at Howard very soon. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be with you. And you also are welcome to add me on LinkedIn. So I look forward to hearing from many of you.
Yes, please. We'll add you there. Bye. So now I'll hand over to Manasseh to take over and take us to our next talk for today.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Alba. That has been an insightful session with Professor Darren. And of course, it's a good thing that he has left for us ways of contacting him. If we have further questions, we should always go and then contact him, and then we could be the next LLM holders of Howard, who knows. So our next guest is Miss Diane King. Miss Diane King, and she's going to tell us more about how to apply for LLM programs. So first, we saw Professor Howard giving us a deeper insight of how Howard's systems is. Now, Ms. Diane Kane is going to give us a step-by-step process of how to apply for LLM programs. She's going to share her experience and then give us, a very detailed overview of what the process is about. But before that, let me just read briefly her profile. Now, Diane King is an accomplished international development associate with a passion for delivering tangible results with over 4 years of experience in project management, legal advisory, social enterprise, and research. She has become an expert in coordinating projects aimed at empowering women and children's economic development across 12 of the 16 regions in Ghana. She has an impressive international background, having worked in the US and Canada. She's a fierce advocate for gender issues and holds a prestigious LLB in law from Lancaster University and an LLM from Penn State University. Her academic achievements are nothing short of outstanding. While applying for a master's in America, she was admitted to top 20 law schools in America, including Boston University, UCLA School of Law, USC Gold School of Law, and the University of Law in the UK. She also received scholarships and merit awards from all schools she obtained admissions at. Currently, Ms. Diane is a BL candidate at the Ghana School of Law. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to us Ms. Diane Kane to take us through the next lecture. You're welcome, Ms. Diane.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, please. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Diane Kay, as I've already been introduced, and I will be taking you through applying for an LLM in both the US and in the UK. When I was applying for an LLM, I applied to both for LLMs in both countries. And just to give you like a brief overview of what we'll be talking about today, we'll be talking about the UK LLM applications, like what you need to know, general requirements, personal statements, letters of recommendation, scholarships, the timelines, and then the US LLM applications, the LSAC, the national accreditation, like I'll be taking you through. But first of all, I'm just saying that I'm so proud of Falas. Like I think this is such an amazing initiative for you to be thinking of this opportunity for your members. So, and proud of you, the members, also for taking this step to be here this afternoon to learn about like how to improve and build upon your knowledge and skills. So, for both, so I would let you know whether I'm speaking to the UK or to the US. But for this one, it's for both the UK and US. And the first question people normally ask is, what university should I apply to? And then for that, I would say that you have to know what your interests are. I knew my interest was in international law, international human rights. So Google top schools in your area of interest. If it's the UK that you want to go to, Google top schools in human rights law, Google top schools in taxation, top schools in medical law, like so that you know that, okay, fine, just because the school is a top school doesn't necessarily mean they are highly ranked for the particular course you want to go and do there. So for example, say you want to go to Oxford, and Oxford is a top school, all right, but maybe you want to specialize in taxation, but a different school is rather ranked higher than Oxford for taxation. So it's important to know the schools that rank higher for the particular interest that you have. So that's number one. Also think about cost of living, because the cost in the UK, for example, cost of living varies between London, Birmingham, Leeds, Bristol. So like Google what the cost of living is, what the hostel situation is like, apartments, all of those things. All of those things should be factored into when you're applying for an LLM, because you may get an amazing school and then realize that actually the cost of living is way too high. You could probably be able to afford the fees, but the accommodation and food alone would literally cripple you. So it's important to take that into consideration. And also, if you have family and friends, like some of you may want to get away from your family and friends, but advisedly, going where you have family and friends also is helpful, because being and outside the country, abroad, is not easy, especially as a Ghanaian or an African. It really isn't easy, and it helps to have like a support system, all of that. And another thing to also take into consideration is career guidance and counseling offered by the school. So some schools do an amazing job of trying to secure jobs for you after your LLM, whereas some schools also are just focused on giving you the best LLM and that's it. Most schools have a career office, but some schools are more active than others. And so also pay attention to that. Like when you're going through the school's website, see like some of them will say, okay, fine, 60% of our students after the LLM have been placed A, B, C, D, E. Like all of those things are important. So try to go through the career section of the school you want to go to's website. Try to see whether they help and they're proactive in placing you somewhere to work, all of those things. Yeah. And so I'm going to talk about the general requirements for the UK. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm just saying it from when I was applying. So for the UK, usually you just need like a bachelor's degree in law. Unlike the US, the UK will want a second class lower and above for some schools. They would also want a second class upper and above. So pay attention to that. And also good scores in the IELTS. That is where applicable. So usually, even for America, some schools may request IELTS for non-native English speakers. They would say that, okay, fine, because you're not from the US or because you're not from the UK, write IELTS. And some schools is mandatory, but sometimes you can actually write to the school and inform them that you have spoken English all your life. You were taught from when you were a kid until now in English, all your certificates are in English. And they may waive your the IELTS requirements. I think for one of the schools I applied to where I needed to have an IELTS, I literally wrote them a whole email saying that, hi, I've always spoken English all my life. My certificates, everything I was taught in English, A, B, C, D, E. School actually waived the requirements for IELTS, but sometimes the requirements may be for the UK visa for school, and not necessarily for the school itself. So you have to bear that distinction in mind. And for LLM, some schools may also prefer a student that has work experience. So also keep that in mind. But for most of these requirements, they're general, but they're also very specific to the school you want to apply to. So again, go through the school's website, comb it through what are their requirements, what do they need, what do they not need, etc. And for the UK particularly, there's an organization in Ghana, in I think Osu, last time I checked. It's called UKEAS. Let me just put it in the chat box. So what they do is they provide free guided applications to the UK at no cost to you. The only cost you'll be paying for is your application fee. So, and the thing is that the office here in Ghana has links to different universities in the UK, University of Law, like different universities. Sometimes going through UCAS is easier for you because they already know what the requirements are. They already know what they need from you and are able to expedite the process for you. You don't have to pay anything. The only thing you pay is your own application fee, and that's about it. So that was a really good resource. In the beginning, I went to them to help me when I was applying to the UK. Now, I would also just state that, or I would advise that it's always better to study a specialized LLM as opposed to a general one. And usually specialization comes at no cost. So instead of doing a general LLM, always try and get an LLM that is like focused a particular thing, international human rights, taxation, corporate law. Like it helps when things. So it helps to mold you to be an expert in that topic. So always try to get a specialized LLM as opposed to a general one. This also applies for the US. And then also, if you're going to say, I know most of us sometimes when we're not able to pass Makola, the entrance exam in Ghana, we may want to get called to the UK bar, the solicitor route and the barrister route. And so if you want to apply for an LLM, I would advise that you can kill two birds with one stone and apply for an LLM that also prepares you for the UK bar, so that at the end you would have been able to qualify in the UK and you'd also have an LLM available. And so for the UK is two, it's the LLM SQE. The LLM SQE is geared towards the solicitor route. So it's a set of exams that you'd have to take, but the LLM would would put beforehand. There's a work experience, legal work experience. It doesn't have to be in the UK, it can be anywhere else in the world. Just once able to combine it and it's up to 2 years, you would be able to get qualified as a solicitor in the UK and also have an LLM. Or the LLM BPC, that's for the barrister route. So that's for those who want to be a barrister in the UK. But for the LLM BPC, for that one, they only admit students that have a UK qualifying degree. And the UK qualifying degree has, I think, 7 or 9 courses that your degree should have covered. So personally, when I was trying to apply for the BPC, I found out that for a UK qualifying degree, LLB, and I hadn't done that. But so if you don't have, or if you haven't studied all the courses necessary for a UK qualifying law degree, then you might have to do a GDL, which is a graduate diploma in law, for 1 year before you can qualify. Or some schools, like the University of Law, provides an EU standalone module. So say if it's only EU you don't have, you can just do that standalone course, which I think is like about £1,300. I'm not sure now, that was then. To do that course, to have a qualifying degree, and then you can also go ahead to do the LLM BPC. So yes, I'd always advise that try doing a specialized LLM. It always helps you. It's better for you at the end of the day. And then I'm going to talk about the personal statements, because the personal statement, I think, is one of the most important things when you're applying for an LLM. And this applies to both the UK and the US. So your personal statement is the first introduction, is the school's first introduction to you as a person. It's not your transcripts, it's not your CV. Like, for them to get an idea of who you are as a person, the first thing is your personal statement. So your personal statement needs to be amazing. Like, it needs to be amazing. Always starts with a powerful introduction. Always start, like, let your intro be very powerful. Let it be something that you know you've remembered by the school, but please don't go and plagiarize. But your intro should always be powerful. And I think the thing that distinguishes an average student from, or an average application from an excellent application, is your ability to tailor your personal statements to the school. So what I mean is, a lot of people, like even CVs, when you're applying for jobs, people just send their regular CVs to different jobs. But the thing is that a school would know when it's only you just have a template and personal statement, and you just put your name on it, or you just put the school's name on it, and then you send it. They will know, and they will know whether you tailored your personal statement to them. And so I would say before, so first of all, because you're applying to different schools, always reread your personal. Sure, if you are sending an application to Boston University, it doesn't have UCLA inside. Or if you're applying to Oxford, it doesn't have Harvard Law because you had already applied to Harvard Law. Two, the second most important thing is browse the website of the school. Like I would always say, is browse the website of the school. Include facts about the school into your personal statement, so they know that it's not just a template personal statement, that is one tailored to the school. So I wanted to read an excerpt of my personal statement for you guys to get an idea of how I tailored it to the UCLA. So I said, this is like the bottom part of the personal statement. This is why I want to study the Masters of Laws program at USC Gold. USC Gold is a top-ranked law school which embraces people from all walks of life, with one of America's most usable tickets in today's world. And USC Gold provides me with that ticket. And where I went in, like, to let them know that I know the school I'm applying to, like, to make it personalized to them, I said, as one of the first schools to realize the need for both knowledge and skills by implementing a legal aid program, I know I would gain hands-on training in the practice of law. Your school's excellence is evidenced by your alumni occupying influential roles in government, major international companies, USC Gold. And so this lets them know that like you've gone through the school, you know specifically why you want to choose the school, and you're including all of those things in your personal statement. So you should never send the same personal statements to several schools. Like always make sure to tailor it to the specific school you are sending it to. And then another important point for the personal statements is highlight your accomplishments, highlight the things you've done. Like American and both American and UK schools, they love extracurricular activities. So whatever it is you did, if you were president of Falas, if you were the head of fundraising committee, like all the different things, because unlike Ghana, the UK and the US, they want a more well-rounded individual. It's not only about academics to them. They want somebody who is well-rounded, somebody who has interpersonal skills, somebody who knows how to work with different people from different cultures. Like they want to see that. So when you're highlighting your accomplishments, don't just state them, but link. So let me give another example using my personal statement. Um, uh, okay, so I said, for example, in my final year, I was elected the vice president of Lancaster Law Society and was the chair of our annual Law Week celebration. This gave me the opportunity to network and work in a team to organize a week of mooting, debates, and a symposium where students present papers. So I cited different examples, but the point is when you highlight your achievements, link it to the skills that you will need as a lawyer. So for example, if you say you were the president, you say that that taught you how to work with different people, how to meet deadlines, like so link the skills that would make a good lawyer to your achievements and show how your achievements taught you those skills that you would need to succeed as an LLM candidate. That's very, very, very important. And the third thing I would say for personal statement is highlight your goals. So, for example, if you know that you want to be an international development associate, if you know that you want to be a human rights advocate, like link your goals to how the LLM would specifically help you achieve this. So, for example, you are saying that I want to be A, B, C, D, and because the LLM would teach me A, B, C, it would help me be able to realize my dream of becoming A, B, C, D, E. So always try to highlight your goals and link how they help you achieve that to in your application. Yeah, so that was it for personal statements. Now I'll go to fees and scholarships. So for the US, most schools automatically consider you for a merit-based scholarship. For those ones, you wouldn't have to make a separate application. Once you apply, the school automatically considers you for a merit-based scholarship. So that's on one hand. On the second hand, most schools have other financial aid opportunities that you might need to apply separately from your main application. So for that, again, you have to go to the school's website. Some of them might have a Dean's Special Scholarship. They might have a Thurgood Marshall Special Scholarship. They might have this, they might have that. So you have to go through those scholarships that aside the main one that you might get just from applying, and then also make separate applications. And most of them also have financial needs scholarships. So you can go through those ones and apply. But where the school is limited in terms of scholarships, always try to look for external scholarships as well. Or try writing to, say if you want to work with a certain law firm in the US, you can try writing to them saying, hey, I'm a student who wants to do ABC, and I'd appreciate if I could receive funding for this because I plan on coming to work there, that kind of thing. But that one is tricky though. That one is quite tricky. Yeah. And so the thing about application fees is I'm gonna tell you this like for free. So for both the UK and the US, so for the US, an average application fee when I was applying cost about $110. That's each. And I was applying to about 7 schools. So in total, that might be almost $800. And bro, who has $800 to go and be applying for for schools? So what somebody told me was to write to the school. So I would send an email. I'll be like, hey, let me see whether I have a sample email. I send an email to them and I'd be like, hey, I'm a student from Ghana. Income is not too well, blah blah blah. The whole African narrative, but this time I'm using it to our benefit. and be like, "Hey, so I'd appreciate it if I could get a waiver of the application fees." And usually most schools waive it. So when I was applying, I think I wrote to all schools and all of them waived the application fee. I think with the exception of one school. I can't remember, yeah. So usually for the US schools, once you write to them personally, like send an email to the admissions and be like, "Hey, can I get a waiver?" They'll provide you a code that you would insert in your application to waive the application fee. And for the UK as well, you can try writing to them to also request for a waiver. Um, yeah, and then so number one is you would need application fees for both UK and US. But for the UK, their application fees vary. For the US, similar. And then aside that, specifically for the US, the initial fees. So for the UK, it's only the application fee, but for the US, you'd have to pay the application fee one, and then you'd have to pay initial fees, and the initial fees come up to about $500 roughly, 300 to $500, because you have to pay for the platform that you're using to send the application talk about later. But yeah, so keep that in mind as well, that for the US, aside the application fee, you might get that waived, but there are also so many other things you'd have to pay for the application process. And yeah, so and then also one thing I want to say for scholarships is when you receive a scholarship, you can write back to the school asking for an increase in your scholarship based on ABCD. So for example, let me read an email that I wrote. So when the school got back to me that, "Hey, you've gotten into the school and we provided you with ABCD scholarship, blah blah blah," I sent an email. I'm like, "Dear, blah, 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 thank you for your email and I hope you had a happy holiday. Kindly find attached offers of admission and financial aid from other universities in support of my financial aid determination. I am from Ghana and the unstable exchange rate is causing our currency to depreciate significantly compared to the dollar, and that is putting a financial strain on us. It's my dream to pursue this master's, and financial aid would be a huge relief. Do let me know if you have any questions." And I send this email. And the school actually got back to me and increased my scholarship by $10,000. So what I did was, after I had received scholarship from other schools, I knew the particular school I wanted to go to. So I sent that school an email, including documents to let them know that I've gotten ABCD offers, and so because financially I'm not too good, so if you can also match it or increase it, that would be greatly helpful. It doesn't work all the time, but you can try. With this school, they actually go back and they increase the scholarship. Yeah, and for deadlines. So I was listening when Paul was speaking, and he was talking about how Howard has a deadline of June. So the thing is that specifically for African students, the application process is not as straightforward for us. The reason being, you would have to, so let me just talk about the deadlines. The thing is that if you want to go into a top school in both the, have to make sure that you are applying between November and December. November, December. So for example, say you want to start, you want to go into the 2024-2025 academic year next year. The best time to apply for your LLM is November and December, because most top schools, top UK schools, top US schools, their application deadlines are actually in December. They don't go into the next year. So that's one. Two is sometimes some schools make early decision. Early decision is maybe they're supposed to get back to students and let them know that, okay, fine, maybe by March, or you got into blah, blah, blah. But if you apply early, they can actually decide to admit you early. And then so from like November or December, you already know that you got into the school. You have ample time to prepare. Yes, and the thing is that, but so that's like for the top schools, but for the general ones, March, April, May, June is the deadline for most of the other schools. But if you want to go into a good school, try and apply by November, December. And the reason also is that schools recruits based on two different streams. One is the rolling basis. Rolling basis means they admit students as the applications are coming in. So they are not waiting until the deadline to start going through the applications. So if, say, the school has 20 slots and the application deadline is March, and people are sending in the applications between November and January, and they give the decision as a when. So sometimes even before the deadline for the school, they've already selected after 20 students. It doesn't matter that you applied before the deadline, you're not going to be considered for the LL process. So what those schools do is they only start going through the applications after the deadline. So it's not a before, it's an after. Yeah, and then for the UK, for September intake, usually the deadline is by July. But if you want to again go into top UK school, try and apply by December. I think even Oxford and some other schools have a deadline of December as well. Yeah, and the thing I'm just gonna say for the US is generally the US is like highly competitive. That's number one. Like it's highly competitive for the LM programs. And some of the schools, for example, if you want to go and specialize in taxation, they might require you to have had legal work experience in taxation or to have done a course during your law degree in taxation. So some of the schools have very tight requirements. You have to also pay attention to that. But the general requirement for the US is a law degree, and then English proficiency exam apply for the US is you'd have to create an LSAC account. So let me see if I can get the website and then put it up here. But the LSAC is the website or the where all applications for the LLMs and US schools are done. So for the US, you can't send your application or anything to the specific US school. Sorry. All the applications have to be received from LSAC. And then, so you apply through LSAC and LSAC sends your information to the school that you wanted to apply to. Sorry, I think it's affecting my throat. So for LSAC, if say, for example, the school said I'm in June, try and like have your account set up by January or February. Because actually the process is long, and I honestly only found out much later how long the process is. And so this made me miss out on the opportunity to apply to top schools because the process again is different for African students, and I'll get more into that. So the thing is, when you sign up for LSAC, you need to have your academic transcript sent to LSAC in the US, but it has to be sent from your school. So say if you went to UPSC or you went to Lancaster, Lancaster would now have to ship your transcripts, put it in a sealed envelope with a stamp of the school and everything, and ship it to New York. And the thing is with shipping, it depends. If maybe you pay for fast shipping, that's fine. But if you pay for general shipping, like with shipping, so many things can happen. Like it can take up to 3 weeks, sometimes up to 2 months for LSAC to receive your documents, unless maybe you can go to the school and pay to expedite the shipping so that the LSAC can receive it on time. But that's number one, is the whole process of sending your transcript from your school, because your school has to send it. They will never accept anything from you or anybody else. It has to come straight from the school in an envelope to them in New York. That's one. And the second one is once they receive your transcript, if you're coming from outside the US, they have to authenticate your transcript. They have to make sure that your transcript is legit and your grades, like all of those things. And that also takes time. That can take up to 6 weeks sometimes. And you'd have to pay for this service as well, which is about $135. So once you send in your transcript, you have to pay for a transcript authentication, and then they would authenticate it before, which will also take time. Then aside that, it will take time again because you have to put in the email addresses and contact details of your recommend and the people who are sending recommendation letters. Now, LSAC will reach out to them on their own to ask your referees to send in the application letters, and this will also take some time. So, in order not to stress yourself or to not miss a school's deadline, at least like 4 months account, because so many things can be delayed because you are an international student and you don't want that to affect you negatively. So just try and make sure that you set up your accounts before have, and sometimes even our own schools delay. Just trying to get them to send the transcripts can be a whole wahala. So we just try and start the process early to help you. And then after that, once they have your transcript and your letters of recommendation and the personal statement for the different schools you want to apply to, LSAC will now send your application electronically to the school of your choice, like to the schools that you have chosen. Yeah, and so because of the use of LSAC, the fees go up to like $300, paying for the transcript, paying for using LSAC, paying for the letters of recommendation, all of those things. But the thing is, the good thing is once you send in the transcript and your letter of recommendation, they will send it to the schools. You don't have to send it again. You just have to send it once, and then that is it. And yeah, and then for the letters for the letters of recommendation, I'd advise you to try and have a good relationship with your lecturers or whoever will be sending your letter, because the thing is you don't get to see the letter. They send it straight to them. And in order to be sure that you're going to have a good letter, make sure to have good relationship with your lecturers. I had amazing lecturers that I could literally reach out to and get them to send it for me, knowing very well that they were going to write amazing things that would help me get into the program and all of that. So make sure to have a good relationship with your lecturers, and also try to increase your extracurricular activity, because that really, really makes a very big difference. Um, but yeah, like that is, I guess, all the tips I have to give you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Diane. It's been very informative. It's been a very informative session. But before the question and answer session, I would like to take our next guest. So our next guest is lawyer Faithfulness Michael Okom, and I'll start by reading a brief profile about him.
Excuse me, sorry. I think that it might be better if people ask their questions now to her, because I mean, like the questions will still be fresh in their minds, and it might be better now. I don't mind waiting a bit more to.
That's fine. We can also do that. So then let's just take the question. So if you have any questions, please reach up your hand and you shall be called to answer. But let me just make us aware of the presence of Mr. Eli Day, the second international president of the Federation of Africa Law Students. You are welcome, Mr. Eli. Thank you so much for your presence here. So we are taking questions. If you have any questions, please put up your hands and then we shall take your question. But let me first ask this question. I was expecting, or I was quite interested in knowing about how the reception is as an international student living outside, living in the UK. I mean, what is it like dealing with other students? Because we know that it's not only students from the UK, but students from also other countries and other universities. How is it like? How is the relationship, Miss Diane?
Okay, so the thing is when you actually end up having so many African friends. And the reason is like if you're lucky, there might be a number of Ghanaians. Unfortunately for me, I think in my class, I think I was the only Ghanaian and a Kenyan. So that's when you actually like the Africans really bond, because all of you are missing home and you guys are more alike than you and the white people. So you end up bonding a lot. Like I had an amazing time with the African students. Like I met students from Kenya, would come together try and do like things like Thanksgiving, we would come together and do our own Thanksgiving or Friendsgiving. So the relationship between you and the other African students are good. If anything, like you actually become more cultural. And then with white people, again it depends, but like nowadays most of them are receptive. Like I had a lot of Black American friends and white friends. Like some of them also may honestly not really know much about Black people. And because I remember like literally somebody came up to me and was like, oh wow, like you speak really well for somebody. No, so they asked me that was I raised in America? And I said no. And they were like, okay, fine, but like, did I do school in America? And I said no. And then they said, wow, you speak really good. You speak really well for a Ghanaian or African. And I was like, incidences, but yeah, like just you'll be when you want to travel, it's hard, but you will find your own community. You find your community of other Africans, even Black Americans and white people. And in the beginning, it's hard. That one I was like, the beginning, finding your feet, finding people, finding community is hard. But when you do, you'll be good.
Right. Thank you so much. Do we have more questions coming in? Let me also check the chat box.
Okay, so I see one question about
Okay.
university in the US, but that's a state university or the private one. Um, honestly, it depends. Again, that's why I was saying that try and apply to a school that is a school that is good for the particular course that you want to take, like certain areas or subjects of interest. Some private ones are better, but in terms of scholarships and all of that, state schools I think tend to give more scholarships than the private ones. But again, it's really up to what you want to study, whether the school you are going to um is good for the topic you want to do. So that's not because, for example, I went to Penn State. Penn State was a state university, but Penn State is renowned in America for various things, law, medicine, research, and all that. So really depends on exactly what you want to go and study. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think there's okay. So there's another question in the chat box. It
Yeah.
says, "Please, I read petrochemical engineering at KNUST and currently have an offer to read LLM at the University of Dundee. Is it possible to practice law in the UK after?"
So it is, but the thing is, you would have to. So you have two routes. You would have to do and it depends. You might have to do a JDL first. So ask them if they can offer you an LLM JDL, so that after you finish that one course, then you can either go and do the SQE or the BPC. Both are different routes to practice law. So the SQE is for solicitor, and then the BPC is for a barrister. In order to practice law in the UK, you would have to do either the SQE or the BPC. It would not be enough to only do the LLM. So that's what I'm advising. Try and do an LLM SQE or an LLM BPC that would enable you to be able to practice. And for the LLM SQE, after you're done writing the papers and you pass, you would also have to have like a two year work experience in law before they then certify you as a solicitor where you can practice. But the good thing about the UK now is once you apply to a UK university, afterwards you get 2 years work permits to work in the UK. So after you're done with your LLM SQE and then you get your 2 year work permit and you apply to a law firm or a law department or anything in the UK and you get your work experience, after the 2 years, you would be qualified to practice law. Yeah. Or if you don't want to do that, to do a combined and then do the LLM BPC the next year, and then you can qualify. Yeah.
Okay,
You're
so
welcome,
I
Jack.
think
Yeah, yeah, more
yeah, in the
questions.
absence of I don't see any more questions in the chat box, and then no hand is up. So I mean, maybe as the program progresses, people with questions would be able to reach out. But let's take our next guest. So our next guest is Mr. Faithfulness Michael Okome, lawyer. He graduated from the University of Calabar in 2018 as
Bro,
a
can I do
student of
this?
the University of
Sorry,
Calabar.
can I can I do I can take this off from here. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
so yeah,
sure. So
yeah.
you can go ahead. Thank you.
I'm sure
Right.
the bios are published with flyers, so sometimes it's a bit flattering having to listen. But I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Faithfulness. I'm a sports lawyer. In 2021, I moved to Spain, Madrid, to do a master's in sports law at the Real Madrid Graduate School. I graduated 2021 and in 2022 rather, and currently I moved to Valencia from Madrid for an internship at Ruiz Huerta Crespo, um, sports lawyers, one of the most prestigious sports law firms in Europe, and I've been with them for the last 8 or 9 months now. Um, so yeah, I was very I keenly listened to the previous speaker Diane because I feel like for this topic I told Alfred that I feel like people who know have a more generic LLM is quite niche. Sports law is very niche ecosystem. So I always like prefer to communicate with people who I am sure are deeply interested in that in that area of sports law. I mean, like I get DMs all the time of people trying to find a career in sports law and all of that. And I mean, I like when I know that like majority of the people I'm speaking to have an interest in that field. So what I'm going to do is because I mean, Alfred is my friend, my good friend, and I am committed to the project. Whoever is very interested in sports law and wants to, figure out things, how I can have like more personal conversations. I can send materials. I have a LinkedIn newsletter with lots of articles about sports law, and I can help as much as I can. So I will keep this session as brief as possible, and then I will, my DMs. You can get my contact from Alfred or from the manager because they have my WhatsApp contact, and you can reach out to me anytime, and I'll give you listening ears and tell you how you can figure things out. So like everything the previous speaker said, like most of it applies to sports, but like most of that content is even more important than anything I have to say. My experience, basically, I mean, in 2020, I decided I wanted to be a sports law masters, and I started like doing some research about where to go. For me, I mean, there are different considerations. I don't know what has been said, but I think that one important thing to consider when you're going abroad is as much as you want to, as much as you're going for a particular program, you're passionate about a particular course, I think it's also important to consider like integration in a sense, like um, immigration concerns, like because some countries have easier immigration systems than others. So sometimes it's a bit difficult for like I mean in Spain, for example, I'll say like it's a bit more difficult than the UK to integrate because the UK gives to Commonwealth citizens I think a grace period of 2 years after masters after studies to find job openings and job opportunities. So for me, this is always something that I always consider very key. And when I speak to people who are looking to go overseas for master's master programs, and are thinking about contemplating where they should go, I think it's very important that you consider like where the life suits you. Um, and also to an extent, like the previous speaker spoke about, finding a community of people. For me, like moving to Spain, I mean, like it was a bit of a different experience. There were there was only one other African in my class, and he did the master online. So I was alone. I was 28 people in class, missing physical classes. I was the only black person. So it was a bit of a different experience for me. I didn't struggle because I was blessed to have, like, everyone was cool. I had two of the guys from my master were my flatmates. So it was pretty easy. Well, I've had friends who have had, different experiences, and I've struggled a bit. I've basically been able to figure out. I had a background in debating and public speaking, so I did lots of traveling to the US, to different places. Most of my friends, as a matter of fact, are Ghanaians, because of my debating experience. So I think I kind of understand, like, how to live with foreigners, and like, and I was able to adapt. Even in Valencia, when I came, like, in the office, I'm the only African, the only black person. But I don't know, most people might struggle with this reality, because even some of my friends in the UK, struggle. So I think it's also important, just that to some extent you consider the places that you might easily integrate to. These are things like, if you're going to be, it's different if you're doing an LLM and you're planning to go back home, almost future of opportunities. These are things that many people ignore. People don't really ask about how life is in those different places. People don't really ask about, like, oh, can I work with a student visa? There are different things that I think it's important, as much as you try to understand um, the academic nitty gritties, the structures, and knowing how to find your way around them. The motivation, our statement of purpose, letters, and all of that. I think it's also important that these externalities about settling down. For me, one big reason why I came to Spain was the weather. I love Mediterranean weather. I didn't like the UK because I feel like the weather was a bit gloomy and depressing from things I heard from my friends. I hadn't visited UK, so for me Spain was important. But for anyone who wants to pursue a career in sports law, I always say sports law is not like orthodox. Sports law is quite novel. It's nascent. It's a developing area of law, and sports is about, like, in some ways, entertainment. It's by and large entertainment. And entertainment is about glitz and glamour. It's about the razzmatazz. And one reason why I decided to choose the Real Madrid program was because the Real Madrid graduate school program was because it was Real Madrid, right? And Real Madrid is one of the biggest institutions in the world. So there were good master programs in the UK. Apart from the weather, there were good master programs in the UK. I knew that as a Nigerian, I was going to have more of an advantage, being able to, like, stay after my master, like, integrate, and all of those things. I knew I was going to have, like, generally more friends, maybe, and all of that. Like, generally, the UK is more suited to people from Commonwealth countries. But I decided to come to Spain because of the very colossal status of Real Madrid as an entity. The Real Madrid program allowed us to do internships. The top 30% student, 30% students in the class got internships at the Real Madrid legal department. So it was quite an interesting experience. We did field trips to Switzerland, visited FIFA offices, and we're able to network with, like, some important people. And our lecturers were not just academicians; they were professionals in the different areas of law. So it was really interesting. So I think, depending on the area of law that you're looking to pursue, it's important for me that you consider the status, because sports law is not the place where you go and get, like, all A's, and then that's the end of it. Like, you still need to have that networking dynamic. It's even more important. I finished my master program as best student in my class, but that doesn't mean anything in sports law. It's all about the contacts you have, the connections and you make who you're friends with. So I would say for anyone looking to do sports law, entertainment law. I don't know so much about entertainment law, but I think it's pretty much the same. Like it's always important to look out for programs that have whether it's proximity to some glamour. Real Madrid. I mean, it's not necessarily about being fancy, but it's Real Madrid. It's an organization that everybody identifies with. I know what it did for me. I know the visibility I gained. I mean, on LinkedIn, LinkedIn too is about these things. That's the glitz. So, I mean, being there exposed me a lot, placed me on the pedestal. And if you're someone who is looking to go back home to your country, just merely having, like, I already got, I finished my program when I was 24. I was like 3 years post call, and I already had like two partnership offers from Nigerian lawyers. Oh, okay, I have a law firm, come take 50%, head sports law department. I got two concrete offers, but I wasn't like particularly enthused about moving back to Nigeria at the moment. So I just decided to like do it the harder way, stay in Europe, try to build my profile. But I feel like the reason why I got those kinds of offers like that we had than my expectations was just because like not just because, but I mean one of the reasons was because like I was affiliated in some way with Real Madrid. So I did an internship in Real Madrid, and I was able to do lots of like important things in my experience. I've been my boss here was my professor in the master, the law firm where I'm calling and he's one of the most he is the most experienced sports lawyer in Europe. He has handled over 600 cases at the Court of Arbitration for Sports. So I gained this because of access. So yeah, that's just generic. So there are certain institutions like I said, but I always prioritize these institutions that have proximity to football clubs, basketball clubs, or entities. I mean, in Europe, there's Real Madrid Graduate School. There is East Day. There's a master program called East Day, ISDE. They have like some proximity with Barcelona. There is the La Liga Business School. I mean, La Liga is quite big and quite famous. There is the ESADE Master Program, and the price ranges vary. But I always like tell people, for me, it makes more sense to go for like the bigger, like the most glamorous, externally. But also there is the FIFA Master Program, and it's quite interesting because I think that is the only program that can offer you like a scholarship. I mean, 50% scholarship, 60%, 70%. I think they even can give full fee waivers. They give full fee waivers to study students. So FIFA has the FIFA Master. If you're interested, you look it up on the internet. It's a very interesting master program because you do it in 3 countries: the UK, Italy, and Switzerland. Three months in each of those places, and then you're able to network because sports law is all about networking. It's not necessarily premised on how intelligent you are. It's just about. I mean, intelligence is vital, but it's about the contacts that you have, the people that you know within the industry. So, like, if a program like FIFA Master can be life changing, I have two friends who are currently there. I decided not to apply for the last batch because I wanted to continue with my internship to develop myself because I mean I was really enjoying it. But yeah, master like that is great. Yeah, with scholarship opportunities. I mean, like the sports law masters, like I said, they're all like mostly new, 10 years old. I think FIFA master is the oldest. FIFA master is the oldest, and it's like maybe not more than 15 years, I think. 12, 15 years. So you will not really find like so many scholarship, so many scholarships available. And FIFA has the scholarship. UEFA has a sports management program. and they give some scholarships, but typically the universities don't really give scholarships, the sports law universities. But the advantage is that since sports law is nascent and the master programs are quite new, they're actually looking for students who are like the traditional or orthodox university LLM programs. There's I don't is less than 10 years old. So when you're in the interview process, I feel like you don't feel like you're on the spotlight because in the application process, you submit your transcript, your CV, and the motivation letter, then you have an interview. I mean, I expected the interview your career, the type of person that you are, and how the institution can help you. They're more willing to answer any questions you have, any doubts you have about. So it is not complicated, and that's why I started by saying like I more experiences with the generic or orthodox universities. I think once you know how the university system is, so with sports law, I would say it's pretty straightforward. Well, sessions I give, most of the presentations I make are around navigating the industry because it's not the blueprint isn't like laid down completely. It's something that people have with people who need more specific guidance. You can get my contact details from the organizers, and I will gladly help as much as I can. If there are any questions, I will answer them now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Faithfulness. So if you have any question, kindly drop it in the chat box or you can raise your hand and ask. But before that, I'd like to ask you a question. That is, how lucrative is sports law? Because you are in it now. So looking at after studying the LLM, how lucrative has
Yeah,
it been?
like sports law is really lucrative because, like I said, I mean, I got good offers from Nigeria, but I mean, if you follow Nigerian politics and Nigerian news, for me, I wasn't just enthused about it. So I could have easily gotten like immediate value for money, like as soon as I left. But I decided to stay in Europe because the firm I work in gives me, the firm I currently intern in gives me a lot. Look, sports law is unarguably lucrative. I mean, you have access to the sporting ecosystem, the sporting enterprise everywhere in the world is constantly growing, right? Like I think that's it, once you look at the industry, like it's like saying, it's like asking if finance law, tech law is growing. I mean, if the industry is growing, the industry needs lawyers, and then like that means that the market for lawyers is going to, or lawyers are going to flourish in that market. So there are immense opportunities in sports. It's I would say more. I have friends. I have a friend, one of my friends, and then he gets life that kind of drains you and stuff you. But if you do like sports, then there is that allure. So it's, I mean, the creativeness. the point is that the point is for me the creativeness. I mean, like it's twofold. You get paid if you get a job in sports law. You get paid on par with your mates from other industries, but you get other perks. You know, you get other perks, you get other benefits. My boss was a VIP was hosted by Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, at the last World Cup. One of first class access. So those are the things that you kind of aspire to, being in that cut area, the most elite people in the industry, people who you see on TV. So I like that. The fulfillment matters to me. The kind of cases I work on cases involving very popular um, um, football players, very popular football teams, people that cases that I mean, one of the cases I worked on was we're trying to kick out Iran out of the World Cup. If you follow football, you might have caught it up in the news. Sky Sports dissected it. Like the document I prepared from this same table that I am making this speech from was discussed on Sky Sports and all the media houses, and there was something that gave me some kind of fulfillment. So I think it depends. I'm explaining my own point of view because these are the things that matter to me. I don't know if someone else is thinking, okay, I just want to get paid 200 grand, like entry level, or 100 grand entry level. Where should I go to? Maybe somewhere else. But based on how I see things, this is what I think. This is how I feel about it. And this is how I think. So I do find it lucrative.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Faithfulness. I think Fendi also has a question in the chat box. She's asking that I know you specialize in sports law, but do you by any chance have any information on a field like
Hmm.
law? I think it's
Fashion.
just yes.
I oh, I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know because I think fashion law uh, um, is kind of like a subset of entertainment law in a sense. I don't know if there are any broad specifics because I think like it's all interconnected. Um, um, I really don't know, and I wish I could be of help, but I don't know anyone. But I think, I mean, I know people who are in the entertainment law industry. I have a friend who was working for one of the best entertainment law firms in Nigeria, and maybe I can ask and say, okay, can you tell me about fashion? But I haven't really. For me, it's a little. I don't know. It's a little too niche. I already think sports law, as broad as it might be, is quite niche. I think fashion law even more so. So, but yeah, I mean, fashion law will probably be about the same issues like that concern entertainment law, intellectual property rights, and all of that stuff, trademarks, and yeah. So I don't think it's going to be so far apart from entertainment law, anyways. So if you know people in entertainment law, then maybe you can ask them. It's likely that they will have information about fashion law.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Faithfulness. I think we've spent quite some time here. So we are very grateful that you joined us today and then you've given us a different perspective of the law because we are used to the traditional ones, human rights, labor law, commercial law, but then bringing in sports law, I'm sure a lot of people would also have interest in those fields, and you've also encouraged us a lot. And I hope that more people would reach out to you. So for everyone here, we'll be making available probably the email accounts of all our speakers and also links and ways through which you can reach out to them so that you can have further discussions. So thank you very much, Mr. Faithfulness. So next we'll move on to the vote of thanks, which will be delivered by Miss Lillian Asari. So Miss Lillian, if you are here, kindly take over.
Hello, good day. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
All right. Good day, everybody. I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to join in this summit. I have learned a lot, and I know very well that my colleagues, students, and everybody else who was able to join also learned a lot. We are very grateful, first and foremost, to our speakers for taking time to come and share with us what you know about studying abroad. We do not take it for granted at all, and we are very much grateful. I also want to thank the country director for Falas and the entire executive body of Falas Ghana, Mark Addy and the Falas Ghana executives. We are really grateful that you thought of us and you put this program together for us. And our moderators and everybody else who joined in, thank you so much. And thank you for making this program a success. We are grateful.
Thank you very much, Lillian. And I'm sure everyone has learned a lot. Everyone is ready to apply and study abroad. And probably very soon we'll find a lot of Palestinians outside the country. And we'll also have the opportunity to come back and talk to the next generation of Palestinians. So thank you all for joining. So we'll take our closing prayer from Mr. Kek Matthew Choba. So Kek, if you are here, kindly give us the closing prayer. Hello, Kek. I think Kek is not available now. So Irama, kindly give us the closing prayer, please. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Abba, thank you for the opportunity. And please, shall we close our eyes and pray? Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for this opportunity to learn about studying abroad and the processes to go through. We thank you for our speakers. We thank you for our country director. We pray that you continue to grant unto the leaders of this federation great ideas to help all of us grow and develop. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you all. Thank you, Irama. Thank you all for joining. And please prepare for our labor law seminar coming up soon. So please kindly join and tell your friends to also join and make sure that we make that program to a success. Please don't stay in your hostels and in your houses and not join our programs. Kindly join and push your friends to also join. Thank you all for joining, and we'll end here. Bye.